Thank you for joining me for this tutorial on the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Before you begin any internet research, it's a good idea to begin by creating a Word document so that you have a convenient place to copy and paste notes as you go along. I've already created this one called Fill Paper Notes, and for the time being we'll just minimize it and save it at the bottom of the screen. Here on the Rouquette Library website, you'll notice there are tabs here that take you to the various web pages. We'll click on the one that says Portals, scroll down, and find that we have a direct link to the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. We click it, and it takes us directly to the site. You'll see a search box here that looks similar to a Google search box. It doesn't work exactly the same way. Let's click on Search Tips to see the best way to use the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy site. Of course, you should read through all these search terms carefully to get the best help, but I want to call your attention to this part specifically, on combining terms. This tells how the Stanford site allows you to use the familiar Boolean operators and, or, and not in your searches, but note that you do have to write them in all caps. Or you can use the shortcut method of using plus signs and minus signs to add or subtract terms from your search. Let's get started with a basic search on a basic philosopher, Plato. We type him in and hit enter, and you'll notice we find 716 documents. That's a lot of documents to review, and you're welcome to scroll through and read the titles and descriptions of each one to eventually discover one that speaks to your topic. But for the purposes of this tutorial, however, let's assume that you've already decided your paper will be about Plato's analogy of the cave. So we'll add that to our search term by typing a space plus cave, hit enter. And now we see that we've already narrowed it down to only 44 documents. That's much easier to review. Notice also that your search terms, Plato and cave, appear in boldface in the search results. This lets you know how often your terms occur in an article and can help you choose which one to investigate further. Only you know what you have in mind for your paper, but for the purpose of this tutorial, I'll choose this one to review more closely. Of course, you should read the whole article to give yourself more background information and to search for more keywords to use in subsequent searches. But for the time being, let's just see if we can find the place where the cave analogy is specifically mentioned. We scroll down and aha, we see that there is an outline for the entire article. You might want to pay attention to these kind of outlines. It'll give you some idea about the structure that may come in handy when you're constructing your own outline prior to actually writing your paper. Here we find the cave specifically mentioned in the outline. In the Stanford Encyclopedia, each of these outline points is also a direct link to that specific portion of the article. We'll click on it, and it takes us to section 13, which talks about Plato's cave. Note that as we read through this section, the author of the article is referencing articles that he used to write his paper. See Santas, 1980. We read through and we notice he references someone named Berniat in 1987. We read through and we read through, learning some more, and oh look, here's Berniat in 1976. When you see the same author referenced repeatedly in a section, there's a good chance this author has written numerous articles on this topic. That's a good name to remember. Which leads us to another great feature of the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. At the end of every article is a complete and extensive bibliography that you can data mine for more sources of your own. Let's look for that Berniat person. Here he is. And he's written 3 articles on the subject in 1976, 1987, and 1990. Since we came across his name in the section about the cave, there's a good chance this author has more than these 3 articles on the subject, so let's make a note of him by copying and pasting these references onto our note page. We can copy this section by highlighting it as I have, hit Control-C to copy, open the document, hit Control-V as in victory to paste it in, and there you have it. Notice also that it's there ready for you to paste into your Works Cited page if you choose to use this article. But remember, reorder this citation to fit the Turabian citation style required by our philosophy department. Going back to the bibliography, you should next review the entire list for other useful articles. This way, when you get to a database engine like EBSCOhost or JSTOR, you'll be armed with the names of authors, the names of articles, but perhaps more importantly, with the names of the journals where you're likely to find more articles on your topic. This can save you a lot of search time. And as a matter of fact, this article in the Stanford Encyclopedia has been pretty helpful. You might want to cite this article itself. Just go to the link where it says Author and Citation here, click it, and it provides the correct way for you to cite Mr. Silverman's article in the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. We'll copy it, Control-C, open our document, and paste it into our notes so we have further reference to it. Because since Mr. Silverman has an article on the subject of Plato and the cave in the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, there's a very good chance he's also had articles published on the subject in other journals. So we'll want to do an author search with his name when we get to one of the other databases. Returning the main page, if we scroll down to the very bottom, you'll see that the Stanford also gives you links to other internet resources that might be helpful, and links to related entries within the Stanford Encyclopedia that you also might find useful. This concludes our tutorial on the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. If you have any additional questions, please come by Rouquette Library and speak to any member of the library staff. We'll be happy to assist you. Good luck and happy hunting!